From deep in the heart of Beverly Hills, you found For Love and Chocolate with Mr. and Mrs. Truffles.
Okay. Well, welcome back to the podcast, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody.
It's been nice this week. We've been back in the shop after being on the road a lot of the summers.
Yeah, and in those summer months, August, September, they're a little slower in the shop.
Well, they are, but, it's been nice being back in the shop, seeing all of our regular customers who come in all the time for their little favorites.
And then some are a little bit extra, aren't they?
And then there's the occasional unusual customer who wanders in.
The occasional Amazon man who looks like he could conquer a planet or a nation. Right?
Yeah, well, we did have a very unusual customer come in, and he was this very tall, very energetic, impressive man.
I mean, if I was going to give him, stats, I would say that he was 6'6", 230.
Well, he was wearing a shirt that had his own face all over it, and you were like, wait a minute.
I've got that same shirt with your face all over it.
We're like, who are you?
Who are you? You're kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's just muscly, and he had this great head of hair braided.
And what was his name?
Well, his name is William Romeo.
William Romeo,
but he's
Mayhem.
Mayhem. He's known by millions as Mayhem. He was an American gladiator.
That's so cool.
It's so cool. And he's got like a double black belt, and he has won all these kickboxing awards.
And he's a dad.
And he's a dad. He's
Can
got
you imagine
2 boys.
that's your dad? Like, you would do everything he said.
He's a superhero, a real-life superhero. But here's the other thing. He's a gentle giant.
He is so sweet.
He
has such a lovely, lovely presence.
I could see him kicking ass in the streets of New York. He's just got a lot of love coming through. He's just a big, energetic ball of fun. And he came in the other day, and we had a really great time, just kind of reminiscing of the last time he was there, which is really the only 2 times we've known each other. So we're building our history as we speak. But, he's one of so many customers that come through and have stories to tell, whether it's about just romance or their lives in general. I mean,
do you think that he has a big romance he hasn't shared with us yet?
I think he is actively looking for love.
Oh, okay.
In fact, he was picking up some champagne truffles to bring to a young lady friend.
Well, it sounds like he knows how to woo the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are again, Mr. Truffles, with the For Love and Chocolate dating service.
Yep, that's us.
Just reach out to us, and maybe you can have a date with Mayhem.
You never know.
Well, not only are we great matchmakers on occasion.
Yes.
Are we?
I think so.
Well, we also give amazing love advice.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Which brings us to...
Is it that time?
I think you know what time it is.
Mailbag.
Well, Mr. Truffles, it looks like we have a pretty full mailbag today.
Oh, we really do.
Thanks for writing in with all your great questions, everyone.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah, we'll keep those chocolate gifts coming to you.
That's right.
So what do we have in the mailbag today?
Well, Mrs. Truffles, this comes from Brian. And Brian writes, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Truffles, I'm a senior in college and have been dating someone from my school for the past year and a half. She's working on a theater degree, and aside from being a talented actress, she's also very beautiful. She's been offered a lead role in a play, which is great, except that it involves some very steamy kissing scenes, and the play will be going for a good 6 weeks. It's a lot of rehearsals and a lot of performances. She asked me if I'm okay with it, but I'm not sure. Is it okay to tell her that I'm not actually okay with this? Brian.
Well, that's an interesting situation, Brian.
It is. It's tough. I mean, obviously his girlfriend is pursuing her dream. She's passionate about it. She's studying it. It's her craft. And unfortunately, this kind of goes with the territory, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be rough because, if it was a movie, she cuts the scene. Maybe they do it a few times.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
But in a play, there's all that rehearsal and performance after performance of all this steamy kissing.
All right.
I think what I'm hearing from Brian is that he's afraid that he might lose her if he says yes, but he's also worried that he might lose her if he says no.
I know. It's a real conundrum. In fact, early in our relationship, we had a little kind of an incident, and not an incident, but I was doing a play that had a kissing scene. And you came to the play. I think there were 12 performances. I think you came to 9 of them. And I know how uncomfortable you were with
Well,
it.
what was so funny is that during the first performance when I was there, you actually had me seated in a space where I would not be able to see your face while you were kissing.
I was blocking you with my body, wasn't I?
Yeah, that was really fun. That was really strategic of
Yeah,
you.
and then every night you would change where you were, and I couldn't really change the blocking.
But what was really funny is that you were having bad dreams that I was kissing someone else. So you obviously felt pretty guilty.
I did feel really guilty.
Well, it
But
sounds like she might be feeling a little uncomfortable with it herself.
yeah,
And that's something that she as an actress, gets to decide, how much of herself she wants to give up to her craft.
and I think
So-
that it's really, Brian, it's a great question, and thank you for writing in. But I think if you just sit with her.
Yeah,
and
I
just
think it's going to be a thing you guys have to talk about,
Yeah.
both of your comfort
don't
levels.
bury your feelings at all. You really need to let it out because
And also her feelings about
Yeah.
it. Maybe she's not entirely comfortable with it either.
Yeah.
So
but
just because she wants to be an actress doesn't mean she needs to give up, her deeper values.
that's right.
So
Well, best
Good
of
luck
luck,
with you
Brian.
guys.
Yeah.
what else is in the mailbag, Mr. Truffles?
Well, Mrs. Truffles, this comes from Jillian. And Jillian writes, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Truffles, my boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years and are looking at engagement rings and have arranged for our parents to finally meet. That's exciting.
That is so cool. Congratulations,
Yeah,
you guys.
congratulations. My boyfriend's parents have invited my parents to come over for dinner next weekend, which is lovely, but I'm a little bit nervous about it because his folks and mine are supporting different candidates for the upcoming election. Our dads both seem a little too excitable about the candidates, and I hate for everyone to start off on the wrong foot. How should we handle this? Signed, Worried in Encino.
Well, you know what? That's a legitimate worry. It really
Yeah.
is. You hate to start out on the wrong foot.
Mm-hmm.
And people get very passionate about their politics
do.
during this time of the season, the
Yeah.
political season. But my advice to you, honestly, Jillian, maybe postpone meeting until after the November election.
That's okay. So that's one way to go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go a little further if the meeting is going to happen before the election. I think that because it's such a joyous occasion, right? We don't want anything to muddle the feels that are happening. Maybe we just say to both sets of parents, guys, we're so excited for this union, but please, can we just leave politics off the table? You guys are obviously coming from different camps. Let's sweep all that away and let's just kind of be together. This is a celebration of love. Let's really explore, who these families are and coming
Maybe.
together.
I mean, depending on the personalities of the people involved, that may or may not be an approach you can take with
Maybe
them.
not. I mean, I guess something could be said that could trigger.
Right. And also, you don't know what could, there's always crazy things happening all the time. So if there was a recent inciting event or something that had people kind of emotional, it might be hard for them to just let it go.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been 2 years. Wait another couple months, just let the dust settle on the 2024 election and start anew. Start fresh from there.
Yeah.
And then people can just focus on love and
Yes.
and being future grandparents
Yes,
together.
and listen, if that doesn't work, just elope.
There you go.
Well, thanks for writing in, Jillian, and best of luck. Okay, Mrs. Truffles, well, I think we have one more mailbag, don't we?
Got another mailbag for you today. Well, this is kind of sad.
What you got?
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Truffles, I have been enjoying your podcast and love your advice segment, so I am writing to you today on behalf of my youngest daughter, Bibi. About 18 months ago, my poor baby had her heart crushed by a boy she was with for 2 years. She cried for weeks and weeks and still doesn't seem to be able to find her sweet, cheerful self again. She is young and beautiful, but seems like her sadness is keeping her from getting back up on that horse and finding love again. I'm afraid for her to become permanently soured by this experience. Have you any advice to give? With gratitude, Goldie.
Oh, Goldie. That's so hard because, I feel like we're only ever as happy as our saddest child, right?
That's a great way to put it. And when you get in the habit of being sad all the time, it just kind of brings more sadness to you. It's like the laws of attraction,
Yeah.
right?
It's like when you throw a pebble into a lake, those concentric circles that kind of, you get what you put out, the ripples, right?
But when you're smiling,
I feel like the whole world kind of smiles with you, doesn't
oh,
it?
yes, it does, Mr. Truffles.
This is for you, BB. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain, so stop that crying. Be happy again, keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, oh, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh babe, when you're laughing, the sun wanna come shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain, so stop that sighing. Come on, be happy again, keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, baby, the whole world smiles with you.
Oh, baby, that makes me smile.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Wouldn't it be great if we just could always have a big band following us wherever we went?
Well, I sure hope that helps bring a smile to BB's face.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And you know what else is going to make you smile?
What's that?
This next couple. They're going to make everyone smile. While we were out on the road on our last trip, we did another interview with our Airstream mobile podcast studio. We met the loveliest couple. I think their story might just be the cutest one yet.
This is Mick and Lynn Gagetta. Lynn is a Napa Valley hometown girl of 60 years. She started her career in the fashion necktie business. As children entered into their lives, she became a Mary Kay director and earned, get this, 5 pink Cadillacs through her career,
God, I
which she
love
drove
that.
around town with pride. She currently is working in the wine industry and represents a luxury wine estate. She's looking forward to the last part of her career, navigating for her husband as he drives their motor coach across the country. Mick is a hometown boy of 60 years in the Napa Valley. He's been in the building industry his whole career and loves building luxury residences for his customers and his friends. In his spare time, he travels and hangs out with his childhood buddies, who he enjoys a lot of boyhood banter with. He also enjoys ribbing random bloggers. These two are so much fun, and we're going to be talking to them when we get back with more for Love and Chocolate. For over 40 years, Toysher has been a staple in the Beverly Hills community. Like so many other families in the community, our family has had a long-standing love affair with Toysher chocolates. Over the years, we've formed traditions and memories around these extraordinary Swiss chocolates and the enchanting wonderland of fantasy truffle boxes inside our store. Today, our family is proud to be carrying on the Toysher tradition in Beverly Hills.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. So, this next couple, Mrs. Truffles, it's so funny. You know what I love is I love just being on the road and meeting complete strangers and having them within minutes become our best friends.
I know, but the minute you saw this giant, glamorous bus
Oh
pulling
my
next to
God,
us,
I so
you're
expected.
Like, I think Mick Jagger is
Baby,
carrying her.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. It felt like the Rolling Stones bus. It really did. And so what was so funny was I was filling blew baby up. One of the tires was a little low, and I had one of these compressors that has a ticking sound. And Lynn, who everyone's about to meet, she said hello, and I'm pretty sure she thought a bomb was about to go off. She was very concerned. Is your car okay? And we said, yes. By the way, do you want to be on our podcast? And so without further ado.
It was pretty difficult, actually, but we got there.
We did. We did get there anyway.
It took some convincing.
Mick and Lynn Gagetta from Napa Valley, California. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know that probably after that introduction, right, meeting, the last thing you wanted to do was our podcast, but yet here you are. I think it was the pumpkin bread that we brought you this morning.
I was relieved to find out you weren't a terrorist, admittedly.
That's right.
But the pumpkin bread definitely was
It
the
helped.
selling point,
Yes.
without a doubt.
It was the peace offering.
Yes, it was.
Guys, how long have you been married for?
We've been married for 40 years and a month.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. Happy
Thank you.
anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's significant. Wow. So tell us, how did you two very first meet?
Well, it was 46 years ago in middle school, of all places. You know, when you go to middle school in a little town of Napa, you pretty much have gone to school with the same kids you've been going to school for a couple years with the same kids that you basically grew up with. And then all of a sudden, 5 of these strange young men came to school one day, and Mick happened to be 6'5" and very blonde and very noticeable. Let's just put it that way.
He stood out.
I was in eighth grade. I spent first through eighth grade at a parochial school, St. Apollinaris in Napa. And a couple of my best friends from that school are actually here with us camping also. So we're still together, buddies for life. And the 3 of us left St. Apollinaris and graduated and went to 9th grade at the public junior high at the time. And we came walking in. I was 6'5", about 170 pounds, walking on this campus. And everybody was like, look at these guys. Where did they come from? And we were just like shot out of a gun because we were in what was like a police camp and let to go into public school, which was just crazy for us. We were like, look at the freedom in front of us.
Well, I had the misfortune of meeting your friends last night. And what I noticed, because you all went to parochial school, you all, right?
We did.
And you were educated by nuns.
Correct.
And you all had the same bruise marks on your knuckles from when they would take the rulers and slam you
That is
for
no lie.
insubordination, guys.
That is no lie.
And
we
you
really
learned
got it.
the hard way.
Yes, we did.
didn't
It was a blessing and a curse.
you? I feel like maybe all children should go through that.
For at least a summer camp.
Right.
I believe you're correct. I think it's a great experience for everybody.
You know,
So you two first met in 9th grade. Did you have classes together, or you just saw each other on campus?
Well, first I saw him on campus and told a couple of girlfriends that I thought he was pretty cute. And
you were 15.
15. Yes.
Same grade. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we ended up having a couple classes together. One was PE, where we ended up being square dance partners. And I think my knees were shaking together. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's so
It was
sweet.
first boyfriend, first crush, first guy in my life other than my brother and dad. And so square dancing. And then the second class was driver's ed, where you sat in a simulator.
Yeah.
And he was sitting right behind me. It was like he was always just kind of close by.
I do remember driver's ed sitting next to her she was across the aisle from me. And the one impactful thing that she said was we had to all introduce ourselves in class. And Lynn had to introduce herself and then tell everybody what her family career was. And her dad happened to be a professional golfer. So that got me intrigued. Your dad is a professional golfer. So that was first words at the time. But then other than that, I didn't have any idea who she was and just kind of went about my business.
Wait, you hadn't spoken to her?
No.
Wait a second. But you were square dance partners.
Yeah, but it didn't mean there
You
was
didn't
just
talk in square dancing?
lots of people, shuffling through square dance and everything else. So you really didn't. You're dancing, but
You were crushing on her as much as she was on you.
I was not. She was a stalker. She stalked me. I was playing basketball for the school at the time, so you can imagine I'm 6'5", playing with all these young men, and I stood out and I kept looking over at the bleachers, and there's, you know, 2 girls sitting there every practice watching. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of strange, but, you know, there she is every practice. And somebody throughout the season said, you know, that Lynn Wagner over there is here because of you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's not here time. She was just really just following me everywhere.
Wow.
Enamored.
So
And
cute.
so what? And so when you found out, when you realized she's there for you, what was your takeaway? What was your next move?
I think at the time I was just, you know, it's just another fan.
Oh my God, he's really tough, man.
An
He
ego.
is really something.
Then she had to launch her next plan. So her next plan was,
My girlfriend at the time, who was one of the girls who would always kind of take turns sitting with me in the stands, decided she was going to throw a St. Patty's Day party on March 17th, 1978.
so long ago.
So long ago.
I showed up. Let's check and see what this young lady's all about here.
So wait, so did you know the party was being thrown in part to get you two together?
It was a trap, yes.
You knew that?
Yes.
Honestly, Lynn, how do you live with it?
I sleep well at night.
So it was a trap.
It was a trap.
Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
So cute.
And so, who made the first move to speak to one another? Do you remember? Oh, you did. You made the
Yeah.
move.
I had to go in and see what this was all about.
Okay.
You know? So
So
you
what
know,
happened when you went in?
I think we, if I remember correctly, I was wearing just like a really cool pair of green cord bell bottoms. Yeah, real cool.
Well, they
You can
sound
imagine.
cool.
You were wearing white denim pants,
okay.
and you were wearing a fishnet, open fishnet
Holy
kind of. Because back in the
smokes,
late
styling.
70s, that was definitely a thing.
Any,
Kind of a muscle shirt.
Any jewelry? Any puka shells or any,
No, he had on a cross.
you know,
Yeah, there you go. How about that?
fishnet with the cross? It's
Yeah,
classic.
Throwing it all down.
Classic St. Patty's Day wear.
I think they
on
were
the
his
So you-
brother's clothes.
So he walked in, and you were eagerly awaiting his entrance.
He was.
And
He did.
What transpired?
I think there was a little bit of little dancing, a lot of music. All the guys were, you know, there like looking. I mean, I had leering partners. You know, it wasn't the guys that are traveling with us here at the campsite. It was a couple other guys, and they were just like, "Hey, Gagetta, you got to make your move here." So I went over and kind of, you know, started talking and seeing what was going on, and you know, and then we danced a little bit, and then from there, it, you know, ended with a kiss or two. And
You did.
yeah,
You-
that ended the night with a couple kisses. I think. I'm not think I know it was.
We
kisses.
ended up in a chair together.
And was
Yeah,
that the
and
first
that
time
was
that
it.
either of you had ever kissed anyone?
Me, yes.
Me, no.
Oh.
Catholic schoolboy, you know, you got
Right.
you got your antlers
You
up,
got
and you're
those-
always looking
Right.
for an opportunity.
Rub the
You know,
halls.
they separated us. So you had the boys' side of the schoolyard and the girls' side. You
It
did
was not all boys'
Oh
school.
no, it
Oh.
was no. You could see from a distance girls.
But there's no fraternizing.
No fraternizing at all. That's right. And you always had to be on the lookout for one stray that's getting away. You know.
And there was no dancing. There were no organized dances.
No.
So but
Probably not at that age.
I guess not. Your elementary.
They do
school,
now,
right? Yeah.
but back then there was no dances. We played a lot of CYO basketball at the time,
yeah.
and you know that's when we had cheerleaders. So the cheerleaders would, so the girls were at the games then.
Yeah.
So then it was a big deal. It was like, wow, we got like
short
an
skirts.
audience. Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a
So,
lot of fun.
Lynn, you obviously remember the first kiss.
I do.
And was it a private moment, or was just this kind of crazy party? And it's a makeout session at a junior high party.
It was that.
Yeah.
I'm realizing my mother's probably going to hear this, but he sat down in the chair and pulled me down on his lap and then kissed the back of my neck, and it was all over from there.
Oh, that's
Put the
pretty
move on.
bold.
The
I need to
Italian
put the
move.
AC on.
Sorry, Mom.
Very
Oh, that's good.
And admittedly, my girlfriend, whose mom was hosting the party, walked by the chair a couple times and says to Penny, "Is that Lynn?" Because I was definitely
Is that
known
our
as the
sweet,
goody two shoes.
chaste Lynn.
Yes.
What is she doing?
Goody two shoes and the bad boy.
That was kind of the first encounter.
It was.
And then you were on after that? It was just pretty
It was
much-
definitely on after that for sure. Yeah.
And was there, I mean, when you're 15, you don't really go out on dates so much as you hang out, right? I mean,
No, it was for us. It was movies. I mean, if you're gonna have a date, you go to the movies. So that was a date out, and then we have football, high school football.
This is all in Napa, California.
All Napa. Then you go to the football games together, and hang out together and watch football. And then after that, you'd end up down on Jefferson Street at the time, and there's pizza parlor, ice cream shop, and everything. And so everybody would exit the stadium and walk across Jefferson, and then walk down to the pizza parlor and the ice cream shop. So the whole high school's out there.
You know what I love about this? So you are now our 20th couple, right? And everybody's story is very unique. Certainly, we've not interviewed a couple that has met so young. We've had college age, right? We've had post-grad. We've had arranged marriages. But to meet when you're 15, right? You don't even have your driver's license.
Correct.
And what that is, just kind of, your frontal lobe is still forming. You've got your friends, you're navigating school, and now you've got these feelings that you've never had before.
Definitely.
It's pretty inspiring and awesome that 40 plus years later, you're still not only here, but just loving each other up so much,
Absolutely.
It's very
We got put to the test, though, during those years because they are the formative years.
Yeah.
And I said earlier, I was goody two-shoes, and he was kind of the bad boy that sauntered onto campus. So as he talked about these dates we would go on, initially the date would start off with taking me out to the movies and finish up with ice cream. And then I had a curfew and I would be taken home because by then he was driving. Mick's a little bit older. He's
months.
Advanced.
Months, but back then you got your driver's license at 16. You didn't have to wait a
He had
year
to repeat third grade.
Yeah,
Exactly.
kindergarten.
Not
I
a very
think,
bright guy,
actually.
but a very daring guy.
Very tall.
But so he would take me home by curfew, which might have been 11 or 12 or whatever it was. And then he would be known to go out for part two of the evening.
Oh, Mick.
And I'd go back to school on Monday and hear about the escapades at this party and be like, that wasn't Mick. He took me home at 11 or 12. And so he had kind of an alter
dual life?
Yes.
So I had my brother and I, we lived, in a room together, and we lived upstairs at my parents' house, obviously. And after Lynn was dropped off, I would come home, and my brother would come home, and then we'd go upstairs and act like we were getting ready for bed, and then we would climb out the window upstairs, down the roof, and down the ladder, and then we would push each other's cars down the street.
So you wouldn't have to start
So we
off.
wouldn't start. They were loud. Like he was driving a Chevelle. I had a '56 Chevy.
Stop it.
Yeah, and then we would tear out of there and head out for until about 3 a.m, and then back. Do the opposite coming home, up the stairs, up the ladder. Yep, just coast into the home.
Did you ever get caught?
No.
Wow.
My
this
parents, I think they were just like, they didn't really want to admit that we were sneaking. And my dad, what's a ladder doing upside the roof all the time? Okay, Dad, what do you think that ladder's doing there?
Oh, my God. That's
Yeah.
so
We're
funny.
building
Yeah.
a tree fort.
Exactly.
Dad. I don't
We're
know.
up there checking the roof all the time, Dad, making sure we don't have any leaks.
So, Lynn, you knew that he was doing this.
Yes.
And did you ever call him out, or did he ever cop to it?
Oh, he almost always did.
It was-
but
oh,
there
yeah.
was never, I would never hear stories about there was another girl involved or there was never
It was
any of
just-
that. It was just, he was
didn't have
sowing
to-
the
he had
oats
to
of a
act
typical
out. He just
16-year-old boy.
Had to do whatever 16-year-old boys did when they weren't with their girlfriend.
Exactly.
I mean, we had Jefferson Street with all the guys and, cruising Jefferson Street. You'd sit in McDonald's parking lot, watch all your friends drive by, yell and scream. I mean, it just
American Graffiti.
It really, it seriously was very similar to American Graffiti. I mean, we're all high school kids with
Yeah.
cars, 16 years old.
Yeah, and athletes, and you
Yep.
got the girl.
No cell
right?
phones. No cell
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah, no tracking.
And
No,
this
yeah.
is late 70s, early 80s.
It was late 70s, yeah. 79.
So-
Exactly.
So having met that young, at what point did you think to yourself, this is the guy I'm going to marry? Did you know that like when you were in high school? Did you always know that that he was the one?
I think I always knew. And in fact, we kind of joked around that, we know that there's no such thing as the perfect person for us, but we kind of felt like we were. And I mean, we fought, don't get me wrong. It was usually the things about he was doing something I didn't know what he was doing. And it would come back to me afterwards. But we always managed to find ways to work it out. And I think in a lot of ways we grew up together. We helped each other grow up through those. I was painfully shy and very much an introvert. And I lived a life that was very safe. My
Conservative.
parents were very safe, where Mick had a lot more freedom and flexibility, a lot more ability to kind of push the envelope. And so I think we kind of helped each other survive through the high school years.
He
and
maybe brought you out of your shell and you gave structure.
Exactly.
to
Without a
his life.
doubt. For me, it was structure for me because I would have been, at this point, if
In
I
jail.
didn't have,
You would
I
have
would have been in
burned out.
jail. I've been under a bridge right now. It would have been, it would not have been a good
You
system.
fly too close to the sun, you get burned.
That's
right?
exactly where I was heading.
Yeah.
So she kept me well grounded.
So when did you two first tell each other, I love you? Was that in high school still? Was it later?
Well, I would say it was high school for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Must
We
have-
knew.
Do either of you remember that moment when it was finally said?
I don't.
I don't either. I think
It was just kind of a given. I think it was just kind
Yeah.
of one of those.
if we didn't know, we were pretty silly.
Yeah.
Because we were hanging out almost every moment of every day together.
Right.
Constantly. I mean, other than late evenings when I was down on Jefferson with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so how old were you when you decided that you were going to ask her to marry you? Were you?
21. No, we got
No.
married at 21.
We were seniors in high school.
Yeah, you're right.
You
So I gave
proposed?
no, I gave her a promise ring.
Okay.
Yeah, we were downtown Christmas time, and I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that nobody thinks that this young woman is available because she's
What
mine.
grade were you in?
We were senior in high school. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
That ring must have cost $90.
It's a lot of money
Really?
back then
Yeah.
for a kid.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But he was always working too. He was always, you were just always working on the side on top of all the sports that you did. But you always had an income coming in. I don't think it was a get down on your knee kind of proposal. It was more of we just kind of talked about it and, we're going to get married because I was getting ready to go off to college and he wanted to make sure that I was coming back to him.
Yeah.
And so we were senior. When we graduated, we knew we were.
She was going off to war.
Was that a nervous time for you guys, knowing that after all these years you were going to be separated by?
He's nodding
just
yes.
geography?
I'm saying no.
You were fine with it, Lynn.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school? How far away?
I did a year in San Francisco at the Fashion Institute, and then I did my graduate year in Los Angeles. And I think moving to LA as a single female, with a
Beautiful
girlfriend,
single female.
to live for the first time on my own was way scarier than the idea of committing to Mick for the rest of my life.
Wait, so you had committed by the time you came to LA, but it was the promise ring. It wasn't an engagement ring,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And so, when you went down to LA, was there a finite time that you thought you'd be there? I'm going to come back in the summers. I'm going to come back on weekends.
That's the best part. He did give me an engagement ring before then, the trip to LA. So at that point, I was 20, almost 21. And we had already set the wedding day. The wedding day was going to be a month after I graduated and came back up. And
How long was school? Was it?
it was just 1 year
1
down
year,
there,
got it.
graduate year. And so during that time, I was making my wedding gown, sewing all the bridesmaids' dresses, planning the wedding from LA, as that was part of my thesis to graduate. That was my project.
How unique.
And he was up in Napa and remodeling my grandparents' little
I bought-
one-bedroom house.
I bought the grandparents' house,
Oh
so
my
then
gosh.
we started, just started remodeling it. And then for her wedding present, I bought some furniture to furnish it before. And all my buddies who were here with us camping, they loaded the house with furniture while we were on our honeymoon. So when she came home, it was like, ta-da!
That is so sweet.
And then my wedding gift to him showed up, and it was a little Labrador puppy. So we had our first child already. Instantly married and with child.
Yeah.
Was it
Fur baby.
Was it a big wedding? How big was it?
It was over 300 people.
Oh my!
Yeah,
It was
but
a
again,
big-
it was Lynn's folks and my folks, similar type income,
Right.
very
Hardworking
simple,
middle class.
hardworking.
Yeah.
It was, at the VFW hall, all the family, all the friends, everybody who has as many people as you could possibly stuff in there was invited.
So casual, but
Casual, but-
a celebration
Without
with
a
all
doubt.
of your family and friends.
It's all about that. And again, the food, all the money that they spend these days on weddings was
Yeah.
really not part of the deal. It was about being
Yeah.
in there as a group.
Right.
It was just it was a whole different time then.
And we got married in the Catholic Church, where
Yeah.
you went to parochial school. My family was part of the parish since I was born, too. So growing up, we realized after talking about getting married at St. Apollinaris, we knew that we had been in that church several times growing up for the various different sacraments, and probably even somewhere sitting near each other, but didn't know each other until ninth grade. But but CCD kids always did everything that the parochial school kids did, and they did it together. And we just didn't, our paths were always just running parallel, but never crossing until.
The other part of that is, so after we're married, we're going through photos. My first Holy Communion picture is standing in front of St. Apollinaire statue, all by myself in my First Communion gear. And then Lynn's goes through hers, and then here's her picture, the exact same picture at the same place. We took our first Holy Communion on the same day, same location, took a picture in the same location on the same day. And so we have that in our hallway.
How old were you there?
You're 9 years old, is that right?
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Probably 9, yeah. So we were literally standing over the same footsteps on the same day.
And you have those hanging side by side in your
Yes,
home
in
then?
our home. Yeah. So yeah, I know. Yeah. So when we were playing basketball, Lynn's brother was a grade below us, so our paths crossed through the gymnasium.
Oh, yeah.
But we really didn't know each other at the time because we would always, be playing together and didn't know. But small world,
And small town.
small town.
So where was the honeymoon?
Maui.
You went to Maui.
Lovely.
That was a splurge. In fact, we ran out of money on the last 2 days and had to figure out how to eat.
And we went to the grocery store and said, "Wow, these groceries are very expensive here." Yeah.
So it was a week in Maui, or how long were you?
It was.
We were 21.
Oh, that's
we were
incredible.
just barely legal.
Wow. And first time you'd kind of taken a trip together?
Oh, without a doubt.
Wow.
That was my first time on an airplane.
Whoa. It was
Oh my
all just kind of
God, it's all
happening.
happening.
Oh yeah.
That's
Just
fantastic.
bounce into like real adulthood.
Oh, we
right?
jumped right in.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And haven't looked back.
And you haven't looked back. Wow. So can you tell us then, what is it after all these years that just keeps your marriage so vibrant and keeps you guys so in love? What is your little secret
The secret
ingredient?
sauce.
Okay, I can say honestly, for me, it is exactly what it was when we bought the first motorhome, the one before the one we have now, and everything was breaking all the time. We never went out without something breaking down on it. And Mick looked at me, the first one being the brakes going out and then the tires all popping, and he looked at me and he said, "Honey, it's an adventure. Just think of it as an adventure." And then I realized that's basically what our life has been, an adventure together. We've done everything together, and we didn't always agree. But part of the adventure was getting through the disagreements and figuring out how to compromise. And
I think that
our answers.
it's she's correct on the adventure, because it's definitely an adventure every day. And part of the adventure is knowing that you're not going to stay in love sitting in front of a television in a big comfortable lounge chair somewhere. That right there is a recipe for disaster in my book. If you can keep moving, we're out right now on a week's jaunt just in the coach, and we're going to be, and it's the best time of our life, because this is where we aspire to be. So when we get to spend a week out on the road, you just fall back in love with what you're doing and who you're with. And again, you meet the best people on the road without a doubt. And I think that's part of it. We do not spend time in front of the idiot box, and it really makes a difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you now, if I'm not mistaken, your daughter's about to get married next year.
Correct.
Gianna.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And do you have one of your sons whose wife is pregnant?
Yep.
So you're going to be grandparents.
Yes.
When's that
Correct.
happening? That's
We're going to be grandparents on February 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Which
Mari
is my
and Lauren.
dad's birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, which is great. My dad has passed away since, but yeah.
And your daughter's getting married next June, if I'm not
June
mistaken.
28th.
June 28th. We'll be there. I can't wait for
All
it.
right. I'm glad you guys, yeah. Like we said, we always have big weddings.
So, and I know that you talked a little bit about your daughter and her fiance, who you adore like a
Yes.
son.
We do.
So, what words of wisdom would you impart on them as they enter this next chapter of a lifetime together?
I would say it sounds corny and it's like cliche. I mean, communication's everything, but it's a team, and you communicate together, and it's always going to be a team. It's not an individual sport. So, but we, I think Lynn and I are a team at all times. So every minute of every day, we know what our next move is going to be in the forward motion. and we don't have a static motion. We don't talk about what is really today, but our forward motion.
What was
is
yesterday?
Exactly. No, never, ever, ever about what was yesterday. That conversation doesn't come up.
Interesting.
It's always forward motion, and so if you can keep forward motion together, gravity will take you to love. So there you go.
I like it. Lynn, what do you think?
Wonderful advice.
What do you think?
I agree. I also agree. When going back to communication, I think it's a blend of picking your battles. I mean, there are going to be things that irritate you along the way, but at the same time, it's pick your battle. Is that really, whatever that irritating thing is that really enough to ruin the day or the moment over? But at the same time, blend it with what are the most important things. If this is a deal breaker, if this is something that you really need to make sure that your significant other, your husband, your wife needs to hear, you need to not hold back and make sure you're real and honest.
Yeah, excellent
So
advice.
It's knowing how to blend the two together.
Exactly right.
When I started dating Mrs. Truffles here, she had just a few rules, and she basically said, if you can live by these rules, we're going to do great. I was like, oh, please give me the playbook. And she said, number 1, no whining. It's like, okay. Number 2, mommy's always right. And number 3, when in doubt, refer to rule number 2. Of course, this was for her children, which she then kind of offered to me as a path to success.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the fact
Also,
is,
no veal. Don't eat veal.
yeah, I can't eat veal.
Can eat anything else, but that's
Really?
just too mean.
Yeah, yeah. There was one other thing, but I won't mention it.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
We all have to have our secrets.
You guys, what an absolute pleasure bumping into you and your 48-foot super bus. It's
Thank
been
you.
such a pleasure hanging out with you, and I'm so glad you decided.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing
onto
your
the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
your
you for including us.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful story. It's so sweet.
It really
I loved
is.
hearing it.
But again,
you.
we're all about success. So if we're here to help you guys succeed, we hope you succeed by just having us. So we want to share that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And if I
Thank
could
you.
give one little shout out, we talked about Mario and we talked about Gianna, but we have our son in the military who gives us all a chance to live the life that we
bless
live.
his heart.
So
and
Joe,
bless
thank you very
yours. That's-
much for all
That
you
is a
sacrifice.
huge sacrifice as
Huge
parents.
sacrifice.
I
And,
know. My nephew spent about 15 years, and it was hard. He wasn't there for the weddings, the
So much.
funerals, the birthdays, the Mother's Day. It's a huge sacrifice on the parents and on the family as much as it is on his part. So God
Without
bless
a
you
doubt.
all.
Thank you
Yeah.
for his
Yeah.
service.
God bless our
Really
military.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, guys. Well, that's it for now. We'll be right back with more For Love and Chocolate. This podcast is being brought to you by Beverly Hills Toysher, Chocolates of Switzerland. Beverly Hills Toysher at 371 North Camden Drive in Beverly Hills has been serving up truffles, pralines, dipped fruits, marzipans, and our world-famous chocolate bars for over 40 years. So, next time you're in Beverly Hills, why don't you come by and visit or shop online at BeverlyHillsToysher.com. Oh my goodness, what an extraordinary story.
I love them.
Me too.
That's the sweetest story.
Oh my God, meeting when they were 15?
Oh,
It's crazy.
so cute. Well, this is the beauty of getting out on the road with our mobile podcast studio
Yep,
and getting to meet these new people that we would never meet sitting here in Beverly Hills.
I know. It's beautiful. It's such an adventure. And we love adventures. Don't we, Mrs. Truffles?
Yes, we do.
Well, gang, thanks again for listening. And guess what? We're going to do it again next week. But until then, say goodbye, Mrs. Truffles.
Goodbye, Mrs. Truffles.
This show was brought to you by Beverly Hills Toysher Chocolates of Switzerland, home of the world's first and finest champagne truffles. Join us next week for more adventures in everlasting love.